Welcome to another session of Endless Legend. I'm Matt, and this is my playthrough of the Cultists of the Eternal End. This is our wonderful city with our really rattly, kind of freaky army units, known as the Nameless Guard. So last time we determined that to complete our faction quest, we would have to upgrade 2 preachers to level 6, which is, yeah, I think comic justice for my shit-talking of the preachers for the entire time, for the entire first 2 episodes, I think. Mostly because they are actually terrible, and I don't think I'm wrong, but then again, maybe I should be nicer. So, here we are still continuing our plan of just making sure that we have enough resources via dust production to get all the important strategics we need to keep building our armies. We have all the relevant upgrades. Well, actually we don't. We need to get this newspaper. Newspaper is pretty good because we have a ton of population on our main city, because we've been able to devote all of our food stockpiles on our main city. And therefore our population is quite strong. So I'm gonna just move the newspaper to the top. And the newspaper will then give us some bonuses. Well, it'll give us city happiness bonus, which is completely unnecessary because our happiness is really high anyways. But it will give us these FIDS bonus per population, which is good because we have 27 population units, which would be really impressive if this wasn't the only city, but it is, and it isn't. So we can also think about getting this 10 food on district during winter is okay. Plus 15 science. These flat bonuses are not that impressive at this point in the game. Although during winter we might want to pick this up. It's also good when we're being besieged, but we don't really want to be besieged at any point in the game. We can actually pick up a intensifier. This is the altar of Auriga, by the way. You can pick up special anomalies, or you can pick up special upgrades. With extra pearls. Now, that's really kind of nice, but also we were kind of a bit low on pearls at the moment, so let's see if the preacher army can get in there. Let's make sure this preacher's participating. Hopefully the preachers get some experience. Yeah. So raise that city. The preachers are still horribly inexperienced, so that's not good. Maybe we can get an upgrade that lets us give more experience to units when we build them. This should be easy. I don't want to waste my time fighting with this fight. So we've destroyed multiple cities in one turn, which is good, because we're psychopaths. We're terrible people. Not that all psychopaths are terrible people, that's a misnomer. Anyway, we could pick up the final tier of upgrades here for weapons in Palladian and Adamantium. It might be a bit better because these are generally going to be cheaper than these two. And we've kind of exhausted the Mythwide and Imperium. So we could go for that. We could go for extra dust on terrain. Luxury resources, these aren't that good because we don't actually extract that much. We could go for this flat bonus on our city. The happiness again is not that relevant. So I almost feel like I want these because I don't feel like anything else is super great. Although, I think there might be upgrades which make people who come out of the city have more experience points. Like this army ledger thing. Although, I'd rather just get some higher tier things instead. No, we can't actually cross their borders. I just want to make sure I have an army on this city at all times. Now, this army is mostly Hyperion based. And finally the game plays my favorite track again. I remember this track from the first Endless game. Endless Space. Endless Space 1, that is. Here we have a spy, just busy building up points on the city. We can always decrease science production for this empire if we can get too close to a science victory or something. Or really do anything at all. Okay, so our manufacturing units are better, which would be good if we had manufacturing units, but we don't, so it's not. They're moving an army to there. How worried am I about that? I need to make sure that this army never leaves. Okay, those seem like high-level units. There's some Palladian, that's nice. I think I do want to move this army back as our faster army. I think it is. It is a marginally faster army. So, I will collect these stuff up in the meantime, though. I feel reasonably confident we'll get there in time. The Sustainer, what is that? It's a bow. I wonder if it's better than Hyperion bow. Unlikely. They're getting 1 XP per turn. They probably get a bit more XP from participating in battles, though. We've got some Hyperion there, that's great. It's more Hyperion we don't have to buy from the marketplace. Now, why are we buying from the marketplace? It's mostly because, as I figured out, these villages things, they're a trap. They're pretty bad. You're unlikely to get all the resources you need for them. For instance, here you get 0.2 glass steel per turn from this glass steel extractor, which is complete garbage. Like, I'd have to build I'd have to convert 5 villages in this region of glass steel only to get 1, which is the same as 1 glass steel extractor. So that's really not impressive to go for these extractor techs. Now, if we don't have the extractor techs, how are we going to get the resources we want? The answer is definitely through the marketplace, and that means we're going to have to produce a lot of dust in our city, aka this stack here. We're also producing a decent amount of influence as well, which is great. Or decent, like a really good amount of influence. I definitely want more Hyperion if I can, though, just to build up some elite forces. At least before I have these marvelous alloys, which will help us build up elite forces without relying on these highly expensive, not techs, but highly expensive resource tiers, or whatever. This is going to give us minus upkeep and health regen. It's going to give us attack. Ideally, we can pick these up on this army to make it better. This is definitely not our best army. Yeah, as you can see, though, the first city really doesn't matter a lot with this faction. So make sure we have that active. Yeah. Definitely activate these boosters. Flat bonuses to science and industry are not bad. Or like percentage bonuses via these boosters. We don't need the happiness. Our happiness is basically always going to stay fervent as long as we sufficiently develop our city. We can think about getting things like give us upgrades when we have fervent, for instance, like, I mean, these are kind of irrelevant at this point in the game, but they were pretty good back in the day, so I'm fine of having them. This is going to give us just flat bonuses, which is also not bad. I mean, it's not amazing, but then again, we've picked up all the amazing stuff already. Like these are all really great, and we've already got them. So I guess we can get an extra level of security to make sure our one city doesn't get spied upon. We could have done that. I'm not even sure how we're going to upgrade this preacher army. I wonder if our preachers gained an experience from that retreating action. They did actually, that's great. So we should probably... I don't think our preachers can actually attack now because they've used up their action points. Yeah. Oof. Our city is under siege. We can bounce this hero down with our army. Yeah, we have another cannery, and we gained another food population. Next one we have 5 turns, but let's see if this improves things. Yeah, we'll get in the turn. So if at all possible we want to get more canneries, or pearls, or... Actually, maybe I want the extractor. rather than the canneries because we have so much industry we can just build these on our own. Yeah. I think I'm gonna take this fight. Now I want to be sure to position my units defensively and exploit this river tile. Exploit these river tiles to prevent them from reaching us if at all possible. And again, the annoying rattling is annoying. I guess I want my hero units here. If any unit is going to tank hits from the enemy, it better be that. Okay. Now we definitely want to shoot these units. Yeah, and we're going to shoot here. We just want to make sure these units move away from those tiles because that way they're not blocking our reinforcements. Speaking of which, if they have high initiative, they can often engage you before you can get your reinforcements out of the way. So that is slightly annoying. Having high initiative is definitely very good. Again, this game's battle system can be a little bit like obscure or weird at times, I think. Especially for a new player. And even, I'm certainly not a new player. I've played like 100 hours, no, 200 hours I think this game. And even then I make plenty of rookie mistakes, so. What's good about this hero, our hero with the movement speed upgrades, is that she improves the range of all of our archers, which is nice. And also, if a hero dies in battle but your army survives, your hero always comes back at the end of the fight. So that's definitely nice and important to keep in mind. You don't have to go out of your way to protect your hero if you... yeah. You don't have to go out of your way to protect your hero, because no matter what, your hero is probably coming back at the end. Unless you lose the fight with everyone, but in that case, it doesn't actually matter, does it? Yeah. Alright. Hopefully we don't lose too much in this siege. It's going to be difficult not to lose anything, but... never mind. It's possible we won't lose anything. These ranged armies are really superb. Partly because the AI is terrible at countering them. I thought I ordered them to attack that cavalry unit. Never mind. Maybe I just messed up. They're so good. I mean, if we lose one, what is this, Nameless Guard? It's not the end of the world. They're not our high tier units anyways. Yeah. We can't prevent this attack. Which kills, yeah. That Nameless Guard. But it doesn't really matter. The Queen's Guard have better weapons, so Nameless Guard as lower tier weapons is pretty redundant at this stage. We don't mind losing one of those. To take out essentially your entire army from the opponent, so that's pretty good. I have to check that I actually upgraded my hero there with enough weapons. Okay, improving the damage of our army is pretty strong. Oh, I didn't actually give her a better weapon. No wonder her damage output was so low. Okay, with this, it can do 159 damage. This seems to do a lot of damage. This does a bit less damage. I think this quest weapon is probably the better choice. Yeah. And gives us bonus initiative and attack values. That's pretty insane. We can also, we want to pick up a Mithrite helm for even more damage, I think. Hopefully we can buy some Mithrite. Oh, this is expensive actually. Oh, Mithrite helm is only 2 Mithrites. So I think it's worth it. Make sure we have a good hero. Or an optimal hero. I think these boots improve our attack, yeah. Now we have to think about some trinkets, maybe? I mean, piercing, what does that do? It's not as good as I thought it was. Army attack, army defense. She definitely could use an extra movement thing. Although her movement is really good anyways, so I don't think I need that. Anti-archery thing is also not bad. What else? Could even give her life drain. That's being a bit fancy, actually. Actually, this Ghost Force is excellent. Makes all our units in the army invisible. And maybe I'll just wait here and make sure I can replenish my army here with Queen's Guard. And make sure I have an optimal army to send out of this hero. Because she is very powerful. And I want to have my most powerful armies on the front. That being said, pretty soon we're going to pick up this Marvelous Alloys and Marvelous Armor, at which point we can start equipping our army units with weaker weapons, etc. Alright, let's just pass. I guess we'll just move our Preacher units towards their army. I mean, towards their city, together with our army unit. And once we have them in range of their city, we can gain experience on the 2 technologies. Oof, that's very dangerous. We have to work fast and setting them back. No, I don't want a truce. I don't want to give you town criers. So we really want to use our infiltration actions to sabotage their science. And we can do that reasonably soon. They're getting a scientific victory quite quickly. That's good that we were warned about it. I definitely can't be lax. I have to take out blue as fast as I can. Capture as many of their cities to cripple their science production as I can. No, I think we just want to besiege this. We can move this Preacher unit back. Don't want it to be attacked. Now, in 3 turns, maybe I should invest in another spy. I think I should. I should probably be doing this way sooner. Now, what do we give her? We give her the spyglass thing. And I think was a fast learner, if we can get it. Yeah. And we'll pick up this. We'll infiltrate this with our secondary spy. We don't even have to capture the city very quickly. We can just move our armies up next turn. Speaking of which, I do want to form this army up and send that an enemy city as soon as I can. And next, I can build the next Queen's Guard or whatever and send it after this army. Oh, never mind. There's a big army here. Well, we have a contingent of forces here. We don't have to worry too much about that. Yeah, but we do need to make sure that they can't get the science they need to close out the game. If they already have difference engine than something else, we're kind of worried. Yeah, maybe it's possible that my past mistakes in this game are going to come back to bite me here. And that I won't be able to do what I needed to do to close out the game. Okay, I'm just going to prove our security on cities so we never get spied on again. Let me just make sure this army is complete before I take out these titans. Alright. So they wisely retreated. This doesn't have any action points either. We'll just bounce this army back into protection of the city, back into the city walls. Alright. I can build more city segments. And expanding the city is quite valuable. I'm just worried that my efforts here are too slow or lax. And I wonder how much science the city's producing. Not that much. And I want 2 cities constantly being infiltrated. So I'm just going to move my armies up and try and destroy some cities which are more valuable to their opponent. So these titans are kind of being dealt with, so I kind of almost feel like I want to send my army up here already. Yeah. Let's end turn, send this army here. I think we can just crush this army next round. Now that they've been wounded already, yeah. Maybe that was too optimistic. I don't want this Harmonite participating. I would like these militia participating. The thing is, they mostly only have melee units, so I think we'll be fine without our hero army. Although, yeah, it's possible I'm wrong. Yeah. Okay. Now the important thing is that we don't run around like crazy. Or an important thing, I should say. Let's bounce this unit back. Could move this one up front. Attack cavalry units with it, actually. I wish I could just select a battle tactic to start with, like just hold position and fold them up and then just end the turn. So yeah, we're fighting a lot of fights, and I don't trust the AI to just handle the fights for me. Unless it's like super one-sided. Because the next thing you know, you'll lose like 5 units or something horrible. Yeah. Okay, now we can just send everyone forward, I think. It shouldn't go too badly wrong. Famous last words, but okay. Let's wreck him. We need to find out where the Mazari science capital is and just raise that thing to the ground, like salt the earth, set it on fire. We're not really in position to raise them for scientific victory, and I don't think we ever would be because of how, I guess, flat our scientific progress is. Interesting. I need to change these to be more aggressive. I wonder if there's a hotkey for this. That would be useful right now. This is the most epic music ever for like switching, moving a few clicks around and switching a few buttons. The hotkey binding theme. Coming to a cinema near you. Anyway, let's shoot like that and launch. Great. Yeah, I think this should be fine. Just let them do their thing. I almost wish I'd made the actions sequence a lot faster. Because like when you get to the end game, you like, I didn't quite realize how fight heavy we were going to be on this playthrough. I guess I should have. I just assumed we'd just get crushed on the board. So there's so many things I've learned about the Cultists where I feel like adequately prepared for doing it a second time. Even if we don't win this time. Like the start of the game, I built the wrong armies, I took some bad fights. I didn't know where to go with my economy. Now I know so much, so I'm pretty sure I could win with the cult. Fairly easily. The game plan is relatively straightforward, to be honest. And there's not that... I mean, your starting region has to be okay-ish, at least. You are very reliant on that, but there's not much to change about it, other than just like total until you have nameless guards, and then use those nameless guards to get your stockpile economy running. Okay, this fight is once again really one-sided. This is kind of what happens if you have slow armies against ranged armies. Like, the ranged armies get to do so much damage and just pick them apart before they even reach you. Against fast armies, we might have needed to have like a infantry or cavalry line to defend our archers. Although at that point you're losing a lot of damage. So, yeah. I definitely would consider picking up an archer hero sooner if I was doing this playthrough again. Although, again, the Cultist hero benefits from that spectacular upgrade. So there are pros and cons to that. Definitely move up. Definitely move this back to the city and keep this army back defending. Now we have this army besieging this place, which I think we should just try and capture relatively quickly. Speaking of besieging and capturing, I want to move this army here. Just capture this city as fast as we can. Once we have marvelous armors, which should be next turn, I can build a new generation of units which will be less dust intensive. And that is something we definitely want, I think. As soon as I get them leveled up, I can maybe go for wonder victory very quickly. Yeah. Let's check on my infiltrators. When will they level up? The reason I haven't destroyed those cities is because I want my infiltrators to slow down their science production. That's the main thing we're really worried about here. I'm keeping these nameless guards back because they are the least impressive units we have. And we really want to make sure that we can defend our arm. Like, if the city is ever taken, we'll just lose immediately. It's very embarrassing, so, yeah. They're basically there to avert embarrassment. Sounds like a great job description, like, preventive embarrassment. Now, here, this is pretty good. I just wanted to make sure I could sell all of these units off because they're reasonably garbage. I'm going to pick up more Imperium. Although I don't have that much money. That's the main reason I want to get these marvelous armors, because then Palladian and Adamantium should be easier to pick up. Oh wait, I need more glass steel for these armies. Need more glass steel eventually anyways. No overshot now, but yeah. But I have some Queen's Guard plans after this cannery, which is not really that important. I guess having additional armies is going to be more important to us because we need to get a third army on the move, I think, as soon as we can. We really have to crush blue off the board in the near future. Like, we'll just move back and forth between these two locations. There's potentially a large swath of land which blue has control of. And yeah, it's just... If blue keeps building at this rate, blue will just win a scientific victory. And we will just lose. And so we're just trying to interact, basically. We're going to reduce scientific production by 20% for 6 turns. We should have been captured, unfortunately. But we can just restore her very quickly and get her back into the fray. Unfortunately, we got our hero captured, which is... It would have been better if we could just keep building. By building, I mean just increasing the seniority of the hero. Seniority is the mechanic by which... I want to end at these. Seniority is the mechanic by which spies become more powerful over time. So if you have a spy continuing to be in a city over time, it'll increase its seniority, and what that does is that it gets access to actions way faster. The question is, do we want initiative? The answer is yes. Now which of these is better? This gives us more attack, this gives us more initiative. The answer is initiative. These are similarly, the one gives us more protection, the other gives us a little bit of extra initiative. Probably the extra initiative is a bit better, or that's a substantial chunk of defense we're losing out of. Bonus defense or bonus damage? The answer is bonus damage, I think. So this is a souped up, or pimped, nameless guard version. Now we could retrofit these nameless guards, but we don't have don't really have the dust to do that. So I guess we might as well make a new one. At this stage we have another army here, so we can send this army out to support, I think. We do want this place to fall as quickly as possible. As long as we can keep at least one spy on this decreasing science production, we can slow them down by potentially 20% a turn, which is pretty good. Now, difference engine is definitely the first one to get. And as you can see, it's going to take us forever with our stockpile economy to even get close to that. So that is the big downside of an one city. No matter how powerful that city is, it's never going to be able to compete with the industry output of that many cities. And I feel like we might suffer the consequences for it now. We really had to potentially control blue earlier, but it's possible there's still time to crush them now. So, okay, we reached infiltration level 2. We've improved our super powerful hero a bit more. Okay, we're Cold War with them now, which means they could attack us at any time. Reduce science by 10%. I think I do want to. Just so we have more seniority for future actions of that kind. Okay, now I just want to go back. We're not going to get difference engine very quickly anyways, so we just want to pick that up. I guess I get a couple of scientific stockpiles in case they've run out. Oh no, they haven't. So basically at some point stockpiles reach the end of their usefulness and you have to rely on something else to improve your scientific production, and that something is just basically having a ton of good science cities, and we only have one good city for everything, so we can't race blue or dark blue. Instead we have to find some way to get the wonder. Oh, I need to move this preacher away so it doesn't get hit. I really need to level up these stupid preachers for the main quest. Ugh, I should have known about that. Although, I can't always do a preparation series for these episodes. And part of the fun is just watching me flounder, I'm pretty sure. Alright, make a new Omni. Now I'm gonna pick up extra Palladian. No, I already have enough Palladian, Adamantium and Palladian. I must actually check that know what the nameless cards require more of. They require more Adamantium. Here? No, we don't even have enough titanium. It looks like our stockpiles have run out, which is kind of bad news bears for us. We really are playing with a stockpile economy. I'm going to move these nameless guards back. Just keep them defending. And these nameless guards can, or these whatever guards, can move forward and put pressure on dark blue. Speaking of, I just need to make sure that my infiltrators are going to clock their science every couple of turns. When this is at 40, I think we can afford to attack. We do need to capture cities at this point, not just because of controlling blue. Actually, it's mostly controlling blue. No, dismiss. Extremely exhausted. We just need to beat them though. No. I have hospitality down in one turn, in which case I want to compliment them. Okay, what the compliment does is it makes a friendly diplomatic declarations, etc. more cheap. So in future you can like in future you can declare or like no, ask for an alliance, and they'll be better or easier to do. So really the compliment is kind of interesting in this game. It serves as a compliment or warning, serves as a kind of preemptive diplomatic action. We definitely want to just kill this after you form up here. Well, they've been in the city here. We should auto here, we're definitely going to win. And with this nameless guard, we should attack their city. I'm pretty sure that small army shouldn't be able to take our city on its own. If it can, it'll be like super sad, obviously. And then the playthrough will be over and it'll be like, what just happened? But yeah, I don't think it will. No, we can't attack them immediately, so we're just going to besiege that little city. Tiny little city. In 2 turns, we'll have another decreased science production action for both of our spies. We might want it to wait. One might want them to wait till like level 3 or something. Although it's important to keep seniority rolling. Once we have these preachers here, we'll just make them hover around these cities to make sure we can always apply our spies. Yeah, Dark Blue is still heavily leading. Alright. The rat race. Alright. Alright. Let's make an alliance. What can we offer them? We can offer them some science. I wonder if I like this. I don't want them to get it, actually. Unfortunately, the other empire that's doing well is a science-based empire. Really puts us on the clock. Alright. Now that we're in an alliance, we're both declaring war on the Mazzari player. Which is great. Okay, that army's under attack. This should take care of itself, I think. And it did. Great. We gain influence points by crushing them. Oh yes, we do, because we're in an alliance. That's great. And we crushed that village, so that's great. So it seems you gain influence points while in an alliance and attacking other people. Hopefully red can put some pressure on blue from the other side. And then we can't get them at sea yet, but we can get all the other territories. And here we definitely want to activate some effect, and it's probably going to be to decrease science. Partially wounded. Never mind, now she's got some seniority and she can just stay there for longer, I think. Spies are cool because they let you interact on an axis where you normally might not be able to interact. So previously, I guess Science Victory, it's inherently uninteractive, to be honest. Like, it's basically like, okay, I'm going for this win, and if you can't win before I can win, then tough luck. You know? But now, the way infiltrators work, with the Shadows expansion, they just give you a way to try and control the science player and stop them from doing their thing. You might not be able to stop them in the long run, but like, if you infiltrate them properly, you can at least slow them down, for instance. So Science Victory is no longer entirely internal. Although, you know, it would be cool if the designer 4X games had more interactivity in the later stages. Because sometimes it feels like the end game is just sort of like wrapping up, you know? Like, oh, I've been doing well this entire playthrough, so now I win. Great. Not that I don't love these games, like I love these kind of games. But it would be cool to think about how they could be done differently. Yeah. I'm not sure what I should shoot down. Like that. Okay. This incredible talisman from the Cult of the Eternal End is really doing a ton of work for us. It's basically allowing our units to all be very sturdy, in addition to dealing a lot of damage and having high attack values. And really, we're not being punished for having an only archer army, which is one of the issues of archer armies, or one of the few issues, is that they actually have to, prevent other melee units from, say, just walking up to them and killing them, because they tend to be more fragile. But our Nameless Guard armies are actually very sturdy because of these incredible talismans. It's really, I think, probably the draw to playing Cultists is that you can make these powerful armies. And I wonder if players, or player versus player, if players have ways that counteract these armies. If they don't, Cultists might be a solid choice, but otherwise you might be overwhelmed by factions with more. So we should have probably been in alliance sooner because that influence boost is really substantial. Like I was saying, we might have been overwhelmed by factions with much more. And we leveled them. Excellent. So we should have all the prerequisites to pretty much just attack. We might be overwhelmed by faction with more cities, and more cities basically means more abilities to take things into the late game. Like, I don't think we can realistically ever get a science victory against a competent player. But, well, I guess we can't get a science victory like by really quickly rushing to the science. Look at how long. Oh, never mind. Look at how long it takes for us to get difference engine, even by using the stockpiles. Like 30 turns is ridiculous. We're never getting there. We might as well pick up other researchers actually. I'm just spamming these so I don't have to do it again later. Every time we crush a city, we gain a stockpile for each population. I wish there was a faster way to apply these stockpiles. Please shift click. Nope. Nope, that doesn't do anything. Let me know if there's like some sort of shortcut you're aware of. Because stockpile economies are really powerful in this game. But at the same time, I feel like they're somehow very tedious clicking wise. I'm getting better at doing the wrist action very quickly though. So difference engine is something that's out of reach. Considering that, we want to go for the Serum of Italy first. And then maybe if they get the serum, at least we'll have a counter serum. I don't think we can expect to get many of these upgrades. So we shouldn't think about going for all of them. But we can maybe pick up the serum to counter. Maybe we can actually win quickly. 2 preachers of level 6 and the Cultist hero of level 9. So we definitely have this now. Now I guess we want to move our preacher army back here so that we can just monitor these cities. I mean, I didn't choose the preacher life, it chose me, but... No, I need to make sure that I have enough titanium for my armies. I just keep pumping out armies at this stage, like... I'm not going to do much else productive. Maybe I should not even go for the serum, like in 30 turns, like the game is probably over. Yeah, there's no actual reason to do that. I might as well get things that actually help me win the game before the game ends. This is actually terrible though. I guess we'll get these road upgrades just so we can move fast on roads. Even if they're not our roads. So I was trying to cancel it down here. Bad habits from endless space. Well, good habits for endless space, bad habits for this game. Which is of course endless legend. We need to find their capital. It has to be the most developed city. Maybe that's the capital? No, it's not the capital. Is this it? We've cleared away a huge swath of their territory though. If we can just eliminate them before they win. Which shouldn't be too tall an order. We'll definitely win. I think we're definitely way ahead of Red because they're the Kapaku. Sorry, not the Kapaku, but the Aurigans. Okay, all beings are siblings. Great, we got this. And now we get Hand of the Unspoken. Plus we convert a unit to Empire. And Temple of the Earth's Core, which is the Wonder Victory. Reach level 3 in our city center. Which we have. Okay, never mind. Took another beating from the fire there. It will not end in fire. Speaking of which, the next playthrough we're doing is 100% of the... why can't I find their name now? 100% of the Unfallen. Very fun faction, centered all around mines and connecting. Funnily enough, I think the Unfallen would have been less out of place in this in this universe. And what the Unfallen basically do is that they're good at putting influence pressure and playing diplomatically. So this army is the easier fight to take, and they ran away because it was too easy. Now this is going to be the tough fight. I hope Red is making progress against Dark Blue. I always forget the Empire names. It's just like red, blue, yellow. Wait, where's our hero? Oh, this is this army first. Never mind. Okay, we're gonna have to wait for units to trickle in then. Yeah. Unfortunately, the spawning positions are annoying. We can't move this back easily. We're gonna have to move this to the side, move this to the side. We're gonna have to shoot. I assume the cavalry units will just hit us first, in which case we should definitely fire upon the cavalry. Should split attacks up just so. I should probably check which initiative order they're coming in. Yeah. I suspect once we take out their cavalry, if we take out their cavalry, the law will hinge on that. If we can just quickly eliminate their cavalry, even at the cost of some of our units, which again we don't value too much, we have a steady supply of them as long as we keep trading relatively favorably. As long as we can just take out their cavalry and their archers, we can just kite those heavy infantry units for days. Not something we're really worried about. I mean, they can be really effective, but they're not really effective on their own. The problem is... whoa, that was a long shot. The problem with those units is that they're really slow. They can just easily be outpaced by archers. I assume what they're good for is acting as a meat shield for your archer armies. So, I think did we lose it yet? I don't know if we did. If we did, that was great. If we did, you know, things happen. Oh, that army is now... Yeah, okay, great. That's not great. So the problem with this army is that we don't have a general. Something I should have thought about, assigning a general to this army. But, no, not the end of the world. I think we're still going to trade reasonably favorably against them. That's really what's important here. Making sure that we're doing reasonably well against this faction. If we're losing ground, doesn't that means we're not dealing enough damage to them? No, I should have manually aimed them again. They always shoot the wrong targets. If we're losing ground in this war, in that we're... and I also should have paid attention that my hero army was always the army attacking first. This is a really annoying thing when you have multiple armies, which a mistake I've made a lot of time in this playthrough. I never learn. If you have a hero army, that's the one you want the enemy to be fighting, ideally because it's your best army, then you need to pay attention because often it just won't happen that way for some reason or other. I guess I'm just going to move my hero up and try and snipe this archer army. And also try and stop my wounded cultist archers from being killed. Although, this seems like one of their strongest armies that they're bringing to bear against us. I wouldn't be surprised if we lost some units here, and it wouldn't be that bad, actually. I think we've already traded quite favorably here. We've taken down their cavalry corps. We've lost a couple of archer units, but, you know, it happens. Oh, never mind, they're running ahead for some reason. What a hero! He doesn't care! Okay, that army. He was too much of a hero, sadly. I want to take a shot at that. Meanwhile, this entire army can just shoot down these. Yeah, losing armies is not ideal, something I should be more careful about, but we're still winning fights very effectively. I mean, if I worry because I lost a unit or two, like that should give you an indication of how powerful our military is here. Really, the one big trick for beating the game in Endless is that you make sure that you have an army that can easily defeat AI armies at a very cost-effective ratio. Like, you don't have to just beat them; you have to beat them to the point where, like, their massive lead in economy can't allow them to simply overpower you despite losing fights. So, like, if they have 4 times as many armies as you, for example, I don't know what the exact numbers are, then you have to trade your units very dearly. If you lose a unit, then you have to kill around 4 times as many units of theirs. And normally that's actually doable if you have a powerful enough army basis. If you can't do that, you have to win by some other means, obviously. Like, I've tried making ideal armies of the Draken, and I tried making, like, Drakenlings and these Ancients to back them up. And what I found is I couldn't quite be efficient enough to justify, like, a military strategy with them. At least at that point in the game. Maybe I try Draken again. I'm going to try having better diplomacy or whatever. Or having better armies, maybe. So we lost a ton of units, like 5 army units is not great, but we defeated all of their strong armies, so whatever. And we made our allies proud of us, so that's good. Oh, they're attacking us again. Wow. So we need to make more armies and send them up here. We just won this fight, which is great. And we gain extra influence because we're in an alliance. That was an important mechanic I forgot to mention. Or maybe didn't know about. You decide, you decide. Anyway, I think... Do we have to do... And we can do this other fight, and then we'll end the episode. Now, their army is composed entirely of these titans, whatever they are. Yeah, they're called Titans. Destiny players out there. This hero unit does insane damage. I don't know why it's being reduced, but yeah. So we just need to make sure we kill those Titans which are closest to us. We bounce this unit to the side to free the reinforcement position. And these are like the annoying things about this combat system. Small nuances can easily mess you up because of how unresponsive and stupid the pathing AI can be during battles. I have no complaints about the pathing AI during world terrain exploration, except possibly that it doesn't handle disembarking super well. But the pathing AI for the world areas is great. The AI for the battles, less good. It feels like it often makes blunders to me, like, it will charge your arch units at the enemy just to get a pot shot in or something. And sadly, you can't always control it, because if you give them an arc command and then the command is fulfilled, then they won't actually do something sensible afterwards. They'll just the AI will take control at that point, which is like horrible. I mean, obviously. You can predict that, but at that point it feels like you're compensating for the weakness of the system, not the other way around. That would be nice if the system compensated for my weaknesses now and then. Big face. Yeah, as you can see, this army is really working perfectly. This composition, in a way, their composition with the heavy focus on these titans is hard countered by our army. We can expect to beat those armies almost flawlessly every single time. Their composition with when they have cavalry units and other archers, they certainly can kill some of our units, but we're still trading effectively against them. Speaking of which, we have to attack those archers. Yeah. We should probably bounce these wounded ones back. We don't want to lose any of them. This time we can really help it, and I did lose a few units in the last fight. I want to make sure not to lose any more. Anything that stalls our offensive is going to be terrible for us, because our victory is predicated on our ability to take down blue. In this case, we have a sort of negative victory condition, is that we're certain we'll win the long-range supremacy game, which is the long-term supremacy game of eliminating other empires, as long as we don't lose to any internal victory types, like, building up a science victory or wonder or whatever. And dark blue is reasonably close to getting a science victory, and thusly we should just capture all of their cities, cut down their science production, and eventually eliminate them from the game. So we lost an army unit there because there aren't ranged units. Not the end of the world. It looks like their city militia is engaging the fight too, meaning we can clean those out and then capture their city, which means raise their city to the ground, because we like salting the earth. This is like what the Romans did to Carthage, basically. That was the Greeks? Oh, whatever. Yeah, it was the Romans. Never mind. What am I talking about? It's definitely the Romans. Ancient history is a bit weak sometimes. But yeah, the cult is all about salting the earth. No prisoners taken. Which in some ways is better. I mean, in the long run, if we had the ability to capture cities, I think just the ability to expand your empire is definitely very strong. It's definitely a big thing to give up on that. But yeah, despite that, it seems like we've been doing really well with the cultists. I'm really impressed, actually. I really had to eat my words initially. So we lost another Queen's Guard, but no big warriors. And we picked up... I guess we'll pick up no negative effects from winter or bonus attack, yeah. Cool. And now let's just raise the city to the ground. And on that cheery note, I think I'm going to end the episode here. So thanks again for joining me. I'm going to maneuver my army, or fleets, I want to say fleets again. I'm maneuvering my army a bit more aggressively here. Thinking of maneuvering this army more aggressively. And at this point, we're trying to really cutting into the heartland of Blue's empire. We're keeping these two cities around, just so we can actively destroy their science with our spies. And speaking of which, I should probably do that. Yeah. And stop them from winning really quickly. So thanks again for joining me, as I just cleared up this turn. And I look forward to hanging out with you next time in the next episode, as I continue my playthrough with the Cultists. So let's see if we can make the Cult of the Eternal End into a victorious faction and close out this game. For that end, I'm really gonna send out these armies here. We can just build reinforcements in our city before we have to worry about another invasion. We're currently allies of Red, and I think that's going to change anytime soon, so I'm not worried about an attack from this direction. Could be that Blue will randomly sneak an army down here, but we have a lot of fortification value and a hero on that city, so we should be able to at least be able to stall for one turn. And I'm also picking up these highways so that we can improve our movement along roads, which will help us because, we sort of do need to move our armies around a lot faster. So thanks again for joining me. I hope you enjoyed and learned something. And I'll catch you next time, where we will continue our strategy of cutting Blue down to size, other Blue, and slowly winning the game by supremacy.